Hey, what's up? Just happening with a quick video. I had some ideas that were on my mind, and I want to say this one. I want to enter this one for truth, and then I want to say right with this. I want to stand with anyone who's ever been abused in your life, because the thing that's really heinous about abuse is that nothing that we do in life nothing is straightforward and nothing is a straight line. So likely, if you've ever suffered abuse, you've suffered a lot of it because that would have been part of a cycle, and you're likely experiencing that as part of a cycle. So it wouldn't be one way that you could define the word abuse would be that it wouldn't be one time. So some people, they get a lot of I've gotten a lot of flack my whole life over it, especially where it was unnecessary and uncalled for a lot, and even with people very close to me. And it's like there's some people, I think there's a word, sometimes it's beneficial to learn a vernacular or like words from other cultures, and something that doesn't make sense on the surface is called an idiom, like words put together that you can feel what it means, but you don't know exactly what it means. Like a modern American one would be like, it is what it is. So if you say it is what it is, you know what someone's reaching for with that, but you wouldn't make sense outside of that. Like if you're learning English for the first time, it's kind of funny because like when I was a young person in my neighborhood, there was a guy named his name was Yesik. Yesik came. I was like a senior, and he was like a year younger than me, and he was a foreign exchange student, but he was interested in learning about American culture, and like he was staying with the family on my same block, but he'd ask me these questions about the English language, and it was like they were actually, they could stump you as an English speaker, but it's things that you didn't think about before just using the language. But to someone that, when things aren't given, it's not assumed. You didn't grow up hearing the word or the phrase used in context, it would baffle a person. And I took him around some real ass people, because like at that, when I was young, I always had friends that were like I always had friends that were different than myself, and I'd take him along with my friends, and then we'd be at places and meet people that were not necessarily my friends, but just interesting people. And some real ass people, like from where I'm at, they respected him in the first place for being here, and they respected me for rocking with him. Like, damn, you showed him around and he's interested in learning about our shit, and you're real enough to take him around. And when I say our shit, I mean our American culture, and you're real enough to show him like that's some real talk, that's some real time right there, that's some real talk right there. And so shout out that brother Yesik. And sometimes if you look at the way your life turned out, you don't actually appreciate what certain interactions meant for you and spell for you, and how that, because like a lot of life is kind of like calculus. So if you think about, like, you just click on one, like nowadays modern, back then it was about flip phones. So at that time, that's like the early 2000s, it was all about flip phone, this and that. I never actually rocked with flip phones just because I can't follow trends. I'm one person that can't follow trends. And I think that some of the reasons that I didn't get caught up in nonsense when I was young is because I just would have been hard to find. Like, even not for someone looking for me, but for someone looking to waste my time or have me somewhere I don't belong being at, like just a stupider place than I could otherwise be. I just would be difficult to get in touch with the phone, because I didn't mess with phones for some reason. I don't know why, but I think that kind of served me. Um, but um, but uh, um, but so like I took him around with me, and he was really cool like that. Yes, it. But some things wouldn't make sense if you just came across it. So it is what it is. It's a modern idiom. But then now, like back then, so I'm saying back then with the flip phones, if you knew a certain person or had a conversation, that could change your life. But now online, in a digital life, if you click a certain video or you do a certain activity online, that can change the way that the algorithms appreciate you, and then like the different forms of marketing, but also opportunities, just how you would experience online. It'll occur to you differently, the way that you start to appear in these different sophisticated targeting metrics of what you would be targeted for, as it serves you and as it doesn't. Just your very engagement in the least. Like a lot of people say, like, comment, subscribe, but actually by you liking that video, you're now really fucking with that video in the digital world, and your algorithm is going to be different. You could say that because you fuck with the like button on somebody's. I don't mean to be cussing like inordinately, because that's not cool. But if you tap a video, you like it or you just watch it, but especially like you really engage with it, that could alter what's sent to you. That could alter where your eyes go, your life goes. But then now it's near about where your mouse goes, your house goes. There you go. How is that good? Where your eyes go, your life go. Where your mouse go, your house go. What happened to my house? You had messed with the wrong mouse, and I ain't get the mouse no, I ain't get the house no more because I met the wrong mouse. I met the wrong mouse, and now I don't got the house. Or I have been born to up under next to around the wrong mouses, and I don't have the houses now. The mices had took the houses, but um but so now it's like what you mess with online, what you click with. Like instead of saying I don't mess with that, say I don't click with that. And I don't mean like clicking like the term like groups, but like as the mouse goes like, oh, I don't click with that stuff. I don't be clicking on that stuff. But I can't act like I don't be clicking on stuff that would be more productive. But so another idiom like that from like South Africa, around that time, that very time, I met yet another person from abroad but that was more like had an inroad like with like friend of a friend thing. And in South Africa they have this expression called motherless. Like I think that's like for getting sloshed or drunk or something like that. It's like you forget you forget how to act around your own damn mom to make you motherless like that. But I, as a non-South African, my heritage is from Southern Africa, but I'm not a South African citizen. I would hear that sometimes. I think like maybe people from a different culture, they would even hear an idiom differently than you meant it, even knowing what you mean by it. So when I think of motherless, I think of like someone that lost their manners, but also someone that doesn't always feel like they have some of the blessings that come with being around a mother or stuff like that. And then another one would be I wanted to mention another one. There's it is what it is, motherless, and Tete Bava. I think Nassim Nicholas Taleb, he talked about something called a Tete Bava. I think that's from the Lebanon, the Levant, and it's a punchable face. Like that's someone that you can't help but have. Someone had one time would have had to steal out that face just because of how a person looked like that. I don't know if the glasses help or anything. I don't know if I have more of a Tete Bava with my glasses on or with my glasses off, but I've been the type of person where that I would have to be that one that somebody would have to try like that. That's me. I can't help that in life. Like I'll be the main one that someone would have to try like that. That someone couldn't help but have to try or have less than respect, even as I'm doing sturdy stuff. Like, and that'd be like my very own people like that. And I say people, I mean ethnically, but like family, my very people, whatnot. I would be the main one someone be having a problem with. And sometimes I think like in other cultures, like I don't mean to be egregious by appropriating different cultures because I'm touching on a lot of cultures, but you have like different things like caste system and class. Like a lot of America is a place now where we appreciate as being free from class because as I understand, you can be like in some parts of other parts of the world, like say England, like back in the day and even presently, and they can really they can get on somebody's case or on the other case about class, like just the way a person would talk, they'd have to be from this neighborhood. Like I think like in a lot of places we're not used to very small dialects, but I think if you go to like some parts, there's a book that shows all the dialects of the of America. As someone watching this from abroad, you may hear my voice and not know how I come across. Like one is that I've lived in a lot of, I had a very multicultural, multi-ethnic upbringing in the northern in Minnesota, which is multi-ethnic, in the Southwest, which is and then at a university campus, multi-ethnic. In different parts of the country, I've been multi-ethnic, and I come from different multiple ethnicities. But then also I've had like friends and exposure. But sometimes someone who's really from an area that they've lived there so that they have such a strong dialect in that place that sometimes you can't pin it. Like some people who are very like if you imagine like a news broadcaster, like news broadcasters, anchors, they can have very generic sounding, but that's actually a high degree of sophisticated communication, with the exception of like maybe if you go to the South. Like I was in the South for a part of high school, like 11th grade, and those, I think like most people would be proud of like having, like it's cool to have a Southern accent. A lot of people, there's some accents that sound cool, like Nassim Nicholas Taleb would talk about a Queen's accent a lot in some of his books. Your New York accent sound cool everywhere. Like when I was in the South, there'd be some students from New York that were visiting in the South, and even I thought the kids in the South sounded cool, but they thought that the kids from New York sounded cool there. I don't know a lot of people that would think that Minnesota sounds cool, but when you're listening to me, you're hearing a lot of like a northern dialect. But I also have exposure to different areas there and here while being here. but it's hard to place someone with like a with a dialect with a that vary from, like, if you go to the South, you might hear a lot of strong accents. But if you were to go to, like, say a town in the South, like say Birmingham, and you met someone that been in nothing but Birmingham their whole life, they may not have that strong of an accent as you would think, because they actually, you get a, you when you become like the end of the exception proves the rule. The end of a spectrum transcends the spectrum. So I found that sometimes when I find someone that's from the South, really from California, really from up north, really from out east, they actually sound more and more general, like almost like a news anchor, a very high level of sophistication and eloquence when speaking like the language clearly. But I noticed that some of your, and I think that they aspire to that. So some of your anchors, like in the South, that's one thing that's really with you. Like I would notice, like the anchors in the South, I could hear them try to detune or detrain their real congruent dialect, but it was difficult for some parts of the South, because it really it can be it's a really distinct accent. But then there's also like Jason Black. I follow Jason Black on YouTube, a content creator. He does political commentary, but then also he you could explain his content in that he deals with power dynamics, as that has to do with dating, as it has to do with politics, as it has to do with history, as it has to do with anything. He deals with power dynamics, plain and simple. That's what he says. But he says he comes from Louisiana, which is very it's the South, but then also it's like a coastal area. So not only is it a Southern accent, but you have a lot of French influence and like Creole influence, and maybe other parts of the Caribbean. I had some friends in the South that were Creole, or not friends, but students that I liked. And but he said that he said that he studies like media, and he tried to detune or detrain his actual accent, and when you or his dialect, and when you listen to his content, you can tell that he's a foundational Black American. But you can't hear how you can hear a lot, you can appreciate a lot of it if you know what you're listening for, but it's not as strong as it would otherwise be, because he tried to he consciously tried to sound more general, which is like a high level of sophistication. But sometimes I'll understand things differently, and like so in I think that in India, like you have, but in America, but with that, so like I think in England, sometimes in England they can make, or it's been said that they can make bones about how someone would come across. And I think that uh, I trends about class, how we are appreciated by others, but also how we appreciate ourselves, and then are thereby appreciated by others, and thereby appreciate ourselves. That can be ambivalent, and that's actually ground zero for a lot of life. A lot of the contention and conflict in life is ground zero, because we all know who we were made in the image of. We all know that it's better to turn the other cheek. We all know that everybody got to get by, but we'd also like to get by, and we like to get by well, and we deserve to get by well if we're willing to work for that. I think you are willing to experience and enjoy and degree and have some form of access to what you're willing to work for. I think, and everyone doesn't have the same work ethic or initiative or resolve or daring or willingness to work the same always. But wherever contention would happen with people, likely it has exactly to do somewhere around class, ethnicity too, but that too class, and actually race and ethnicity probably less so. But race is a social construct that's arbitrary, form fitted onto human beings, that human beings are compelled and coerced to abide under, and suffer and gain advantage through that. Ethnicity is less arbitrary, but in concept, but in reality, ethnicity is also a little bit arbitrary, because there's no viability genetically for human beings unless you have cross mingling. That actual diversity in heritage, it makes an organism more robust. And so that like an area that would be homogeneous, that's geographically isolated, but also maybe socially isolated, it may not have the same of healthy outcomes. So if you talk to a lot of people, like especially American people, oh, my ancestors are this and that, and but I'm half this and I'm half that. Yeah, you would be half this and that, because it's likely that your ancestors would be attracted to each other because they're a little bit different like that. And that's some of the spice, because you like them tall, dark, and handsome. But I think when they say dark, they mean like diverse, like genetically diverse. And it doesn't mean that fair or light complexion is better than one the other, but mysterious. That, like when you're saying dark, you're saying mysterious. What the hell is that person related to, or what? Who are someone? And but then also, whether or not you have a diverse heritage, even if you were to have a very, like, you grew up one way, like say you were pronounced, it was very pronounced that you were like of one ethnicity and background, that could be very attractive to someone like you, but also someone different than you. And then yours would be tall, dark, and handsome too. So that's still sex, money, rock and roll, and drugs as they're legal now. But no one's better or worse than anyone in the least, is all I'm saying. But for so race, it has practical applications that can spell life and death, but as a concept it's arbitrary just because it's man-made, and men and women have derived advantage from some of the ambivalence and the discrepancies in that. Ethnicity is less arbitrary, but for intensive purposes it can be, because it's not, no ethnicity is viable, no person is an island unto themselves, and really no ethnicity is an island unto themselves, and they wouldn't be genetically healthy. And then but from that, then culture and class that stem from that, it's related to those things have a bearing on culture and class. But culture and class are how we deal with, how we socialize with one. We're social creatures. But another way to say that is we're classified creatures, because if you look at a lot of socializing, what's appreciated in people socializing and what you may call chemistry or lack thereof is really a sharing of value. And like, people aren't really, you're getting on with, you're not really socializing with people until they're like exactly. That's all I'm saying. That's exactly, you know what I'm saying? Oh, hell no. Yeah, that's what, because when you're sharing values like that, like, and to me, the deepest value that you can share with another person, to me, the deepest form of chemistry is humor, plain and simple. Because I had some friends, like the three of us, one of my friend, older one, he referred to us as like being these outcast guys. And we were the main ones bumping Outkast, but we were the three of us were first generation American African. I had been born in America to an African father. They had been born in Africa to African fathers, but one of them, my older friend, migrated here when he was very young, and then my other friend migrated like as a teenager, but he had gotten some of English in high school. But we were similar. We had similar. We identified with each other because we were new to being African American. We felt proud of our African ancestry, and also we loved American culture, and we were proud to be new African Americans. And there might have been a little bit of ambivalence about how we understood ourselves and others did. And of the three of us, I had more American heritage, just because, and I don't mean to be egregious when I say American heritage, because we're all immigrants here in the first place who are not indigenous to the land. But and when I say indigenous, I mean also foundational Black American and your Native American are indigenous here, but and maybe other people to a different degree. But outside of them, a lot of us are immigrants here, even as we share African ancestry or not. But I have American ancestry on my mother's side for a few generations into like the mid 1800s. But besides that, we were first generation American Africans. But all of the three of us, we couldn't get along very well, and we are always at odds, always. That's some of like I guess that might be the seasoning will keep the pot hot, like that. But what we did get along with was humor. And like my one friend, one of my friend was more hilarious. One was more clever. And then what would I have been like? Damn, I was just like, I don't know what I would have been. I was like, man, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was under the weather a lot of the time at that time. I was under the weather in life because of like some of where I come from, my background. But but one thing, like me and my friend, we would be at the older one. He had his own spot before we did have anything, but we'd be over there. But sometimes he would have been doing something different, and then me and my buddy, we'd be like in the living room like watching TV. And like back in the day, they had this movie called State Property. That was like a movie with Beanie Siegel. It's like some of those, like they had like these hip hop movies where like these hip hoppers they had some acting chops. And because a lot of your arts like rapping, singing, dancing, theater, they overlap, and they're very seamless. And but in that field, at that time he had some cold cuts out on the radio. And he would have this one. He was like he would appreciate that when you look at a person, like when they have that little, see like that, when I just frown like that, that kind of like, now I have less of one now, but that frown line for him, when people have a frown line like that, that's an indication of their character, that they're in the habit of frowning, and there might not be some things that's all the way good to go with whatever they got going on for themselves. If they have a pronounced frown line, that's what Beanie Siegel communicated. And then he also communicated in one of those songs, which was new then, is that 85% of communication is nonverbal, if that. If not more, 85% of communication is nonverbal. That's well known now, and that's more common in the modern lexicon of understanding, that people would be familiar with that. But at then the early 2000s, that was kind of groundbreaking, that to be aware of that, and then to say it in popular media in a song. And just by those two insights alone, I looked at a lot of life differently, and I became a different person off of Beanie Siegel saying those two things in hip hop, to give the man his flowers there. But then in that same in one of those movies, that State Property, he was punking his boy like that. He was punking somebody, right? And he's like, and at a certain point, he didn't say nothing. He's just like, me and my friend thought that was so. We thought that was so damn funny. Like in the middle of the night, like we were watching that, and then like we would be fighting. Like his egregious self. We'd be at my friend's house. We know there's only one pot to make ramen noodles, and we ain't shy about making ramen noodles. That's good to go for us, right? But here go his self. He get to make the first round of ramen noodles, and then he's drinking the damn soup out the pot and shit. And we were boys like that. We were really boys, but not that much of boys that I would have thought that shit was cool, man. He's like, oh, my bad. This egregious dude. We were still boys like that, because we couldn't. You can't help but be friends with who you can't help but be friends with. But we'd be in the middle of the night like that, and then like at a certain point we had like an inside joke like that, him and I, and people didn't know what we were talking about. We'd just be like. But that, I'll be damned if that same shit didn't happen to me a couple of days ago. I was at a restaurant. Like they say that police officers, they like to go places where they can see their food being prepared, and that's also some of the cheaper places to go. Like if you're ever on a budget and you got to eat food, like I'm not being solicited to say this, but one of the best places you can go if you're on a budget for me is Chipotle. I learned that from a brother on the streets. I'll walk around with guitar, and then I bumped into another brother that was walking around with the instrument, and he was playing me that song. There's this cool song called Chicken in the Corn. And he's like, here, like a lot of people, they'll show you some music and they want to see what you think about this music they like. But he showed me this music and he didn't really care what I thought about it. He was just jacking with it. But he was playing a song like Chicken in the Corn. Like a lot of people, like you might be like online and you're like messing with like different videos about like how to date or cool cars or how to fix things or how to be fly or some egregious things like that. And the music you like, it might reflect like what you got going on in life. This brother living that real street life, he was jacking with this song called Chicken in the Corn. You might look that up. It's a recent song, but it's very creative. But he's actually living such a lifestyle that to him, that fly shit is chicken in the corn. Like he got an instrument with him. He liked music. But if he could write about anything or identify with anything, damn it, chicken in the corn. And I dare somebody too, right? You want to talk, anybody want to pop up and talk about hardcore, about that life, this and that. I'll say this. You can't run. So if you want to run, right? Like say you go for a run, right? You want to train to run, like endurance. But you're running now, but sky's the limit. You can go as fast or slow as you can handle it, right? But if you want to be sturdy like that, if you get in the habit of running at a if you run at a half cadence, you're going to get more a culture to that. And so sometimes you see people that run and they have a swift stride. It's one of the beautiful things you'll see. Like according to the Bible, they'll say that one of the beautiful things you may see in this life is a man have his way with a woman. It said that's to quote the Bible for you. So one of the beautiful things in this life is a man having his way with a woman, maybe a maiden, to be honest, like a woman who's healthy woman, adult woman, but nubile and new to life, still has the wonder of life, of romance. A maiden, a man have his way with a maiden would be very beautiful. According to, I think that might have been King Solomon in the Bible said that. I would add on, if I would be egregious enough, I had a coworker that said that, man, one of the bogus things a person can do is try to add on to like to coin a wise saying. But to coin a wise saying and to add on to the beautiful things in this world, I think there's like 7 of them that the Bible says are beautiful. That's one of them. Another one would be like a spider, like the skill of it. I actually identify with spiders now. The more that I enjoy an instrument, you really can appreciate the beauty in spiders when you develop a skill of some kind. That's called adroit. When you're very skilled at something, the word for that level of skill is adroit. So a spider is embodies and culminates and lives and dies and breathes being adroit. There's a few other words that are synonyms of that are on the tip. I can't think right off the adroit. What else would be like that? There's a few other that has to do with that high skill like that. But that's like a spider, and that would be another one. Or I think the Bible, it might have referred to ants. I think the way that ants have enough forethought to work hard but also be prudent, because anyone can work hard. A lot of us like to work hard, or we work some, you get good at what you do a lot. So a lot of us have the skill set of having sustaining initiative at work and forgetting about a clock and doing a good job. A lot of us can do that, but then to be prudent with that, if not hoard the supplies that would come with that, the saving that would come with that, that's another level. And that's what ants do, and why they may still be here. Ants are one of the older creatures on the earth. It may be specifically because of their proclivity to save and ration things. That's ants. Another one, I don't know if the Bible said this, but I would add a spider. To see a spider is very beautiful. One time I took a trip. I was about to take a trip. I had been working a lot, like a few years back, and I got to the point where I was getting daunted by just the grind start to get to me. Like, I had actually been saving. I was doing all right at that time, but the grind of it started to get to me, and like, you don't even have time to spend what you're earning. And it's like you really get to know how mean and monotonous life can be when you get in enough of a grind. Even as you were to be prudent with what you're making, it's like, damn, it's a grind. And I was about the grind at that time. I was about the grind more than what I got compensated for the grind. I was more so about the grind because it had to do with driving, and I thought that, damn, I got to drive well or it's dangerous, because you're spending 10-12 hours a day on the road, on the high roads, and you can't slip, you can't be slipping like that at that time of day in those locations or just around that much traffic. So I took that job hella for real, just because I took driving hella for real, because my driver's ed teacher was like that back in the day. But it did get to be mean of a grind at a point. And at that time, there's this, I took a break for like a month, a hiatus, and I was about to go on a vacation, on a trip, and there was this spider that moved in front of my window. He would be I don't know, he or she would be out of my window like for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, all the time, right there next to where I was in my parents' living room, by the living room window, and there would be just a spider right there by my bed. And I don't know if the spider could feel me, but it became something of a friend and a pet. And then I went out on vacation, and at that time I was more, I didn't talk a lot. I always was, one of my strong suits was to communicate. That's been one of my strong suits, more so because of listening in the first place, then communicating in the second place. But back then in life, I didn't communicate a lot unless I had to, because like growing up around some of the people I did. And so I was having respect for that, in like a lot of jobs and in life. But sometimes people would be like, damn, man, you're kind of like people would be not, they'd be more respectful around me and not know how to take me or get a read on me, because I wouldn't be communicating a lot unless it were necessary. And even when it were necessary, I would speak more in platitudes in general, very general. So it'd be difficult I wouldn't talk for the sake of talking. But then I later learned that it's actually very healthy to say what's on your mind, because that's the best standpoint to enjoy people socially, because we're social. But also, it's the best way to be productive in different roles, because say you're in a job and like you don't know you're about to have a complication on the make line in 5 minutes, but by you being on the make line 5 minutes prior and speaking on your mind, oh, what's up with that right there? Yeah, sometimes I'd be doing this and that, and oh, hey, I heard about that. Hold on, I got that right there. This is what y'all need right there. You just averted something that could have cost you time down the line when you were getting heavier volume of business, by just generally being open and communicating. I had learned that from another brother who did very well coming new to our base. And I'll do another video about him, because he had been a gypsy man, and he inspires me a lot about what it means to be a musician. I had a different understanding about and respect for musicians after meeting a real life gypsy man. And I found out that you can be something that you feel a way about long before you would get flowers for it, and more so after you had gotten flowers, because of that standpoint. So he would steal whatever time he had in a day. Like, he was trying to give me some fish. He had a fish tank, and he was trying to give me some of his fish, but he said he would come home after that work. As much as I was getting beat down by that job, he was in the kitchen that whole time, and he would get, or in the make line, and he would come home, and all he had to his name was his beautiful family, but he didn't have a lot of time to be around them, and he would just stare at his fish for a few minutes and mess up with him some music for 5 minutes. But then when we're cleaning up the store, he bumped that music that he made for us. It don't take more than 5 minutes a day to spend 5 minutes a day on music, and that shit can get traction if you stay true to it. I had learned that. Shout out that man. I'm not gonna say blast his name, but I'm just gonna say shout out E, the real musician E, and the real gypsy, the real musician E. They say the gypsy. So you got some real famous people that are great, and they may be called the Gypsy King. But I'm saying my friend E, the real gypsy, he showed me what that artistic life and what that being a man is about. When people don't always appreciate you or know how great you are, that's that man right there. And shout out him and the gypsy people also. I love gypsy music and the story of the gypsy people. But another one would be like, to add on to some of the beautiful things you might see in this life, would be the skill of. And then when I was taking a vacation or a trip with my family member, I'd be quiet, and out of nowhere she was just like, "What are you thinking about right now?" Because I'd be quiet in a car. She would show me where she lived at, but I'd just be quiet like that, just watching, just checking it out. And she'd be like, "Wow, that's interesting that you're comfortable to be completely silent around another person inside of a car like that." And I didn't know that it was impressive, but I was actually comfortable with silence. That's actually the first standpoint to be comfortable with intimacy, and also to be expressive, is to be silent. So I think, like in the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, when this girl wanted to be a master of a sword player, she wanted to emulate the skill set, but also the union between the great Lee Mu-bai, both the great actor Chow Yun-fat, who is convincing in that role, and something of a master to be that convincing in that role, Chow Yun-fat, the great Chow Yun-fat, but then also the great Lee Mu-bai, who he played the disciple of the yet greater Southern Crane in that film, and then the young Ronin disciple of a more wicked master, Jade Fox, equally great in cunning in that film, equally great in cunning, the actress who played there, and nobody can judge anybody. So it take a villain to make a hero. So as great as Lee Mu-bai was, he needed his counterpart to be that great, and that happened Jade Fox. But the disciple wanted to learn the Green Destiny, which was the greatest sword in existence at that time. I don't know if that's reference to a literal sword, but to have the greatest swordsmanship around the greatest sword. What he said her first lesson would have been, she wanted the sword, but she wanted to go straight to the cool shit. Her master had stolen the manual of that has some of the principles of training for that. It's interesting. I had a dream about that last night. I actually had a dream about. I didn't segue into that on purpose, but I just recalled a dream that I had last night that I otherwise wouldn't have likely remembered. Is that I had a dream about that very film and how they were flying like that. Jade, but what her first lesson would have needed to be, is she wanted to actually learn it the way she wanted to use it, was to hold it in stillness. That's the first lesson. Can you hold it still and be at peace with it still? But also silence is the best. Silence is the best way to learn to be expressive, but also to be comfortable with intimacy. Silence first. But when she was asking me that, she was saying, what are you thinking about right now? And I didn't tell her at that time, but I was actually thinking about that spider outside my window. I had just been thinking about him at that moment, and to answer her question once and for all. But then another beautiful thing a person might see in this world would be, would be like a man with a maiden, an ant saving supplies, a spider, and its skill. But then also, there's one more I wanted to say, what was that? It was a spider and I might have to watch this back. There's one that I was thinking of, a spider in its web. Spider. What was that? Give me, if you can give me I don't mean to waste anyone's time to think. What was that I was trying to say? Spider in its web. Man, I'm gonna have to completely watch that back. And I also got a little bit of distraction when I was coming to that point, but I got more content in this line. And I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back with this. Peace.